Hello, my Happy Crumpin' Wargamers. Welcome back to Happy Crumpin' Wargaming. We have some important stuff to talk about today. We have a really interesting and pretty cool looking orc list that has dominated the weekend, but there is some significant amounts of controversy. There are accusations of cheating, and we're going to kind of go through everything involved to see if this is actually blatant cheating, if this is a list that you should look into for yourself, or what. So we're talking about the Tacoma Super Major this week, which was the largest tournament of the past weekend. There were a bunch of players, and they were all participating, and it was actually very exciting to see how people participated. Well, the winner of the Tacoma Super Major, which ended up being 8 rounds, and if you don't know how 8 rounds works, well, they essentially institute what's called a shadow round. So at the end of round 2, they take all the people who are still undefeated, and now you have to play an extra round. Sometimes you have to play an extra 2 rounds, and tournaments will implement these to make sure that you get to a seriously one person undefeated. And I think it's cool. It is a heck of a lot of Warhammer that takes place over the course of a weekend, but that's how it works. So anyway, Marshall Peterson is the guy who won, and this was a really big deal, especially with the fact that orcs have really been struggling since the balanced data slate. The triple or the huge double nerf to Mega Knobs seemed to be just absolutely abusive. And it's been really hard for orcs to kind of recover since that big nerf, especially the huge nerf to the Green Tide. So Marshall Peterson coming in and making a big win was a really big deal. So what I want to do is I'm going to kind of show his list. I'm going to kind of talk about the list a little bit, and then I'm going to go through all the current controversy because it is looking like this might not be a clean win. And I want to give you guys all the facts. I'm not going to accuse this guy of actually doing any cheating, but I've gathered some information, and I'll kind of read it to you, and I'll show you what it all is. But regardless, the list actually did perform quite well. So let's just get into that and kind of show you how this actually worked. So he did bring Warhorde because, well, you know my opinions on this. Warhorde is the bomb. It is the best way to play orcs. And he did name it something very fun. What is better than 1 kill rig? 2 kill rigs. I'll give you 3 guesses for what's better than 2 rigs. 2,000 points. All right. So he is bringing Boss Snickrot, and that's going to be an important part of the story that's coming up. So just bear with me as we go through that. He's running Gaz Thraka, and I fully support this. Gaz is a complete monster in Warhorde, and it is basically where he was born to be. Because remember, during the Wa turn, he is going to give the unit that he is attached to, or just his unit in general, a lethal. He's going to give them critical hits on 5s. So you stack that with the aura of lethal hits that Makari gives out, which is a 12-inch aura from Makari's base. With the fact that in Warhorde you have sustained hits 1, suddenly he's getting sustained and lethal on 5 in his unit, and that is just abusive. Not to mention, since it's Warhorde, you still have a 1 CP stratagem for Unbridled Carnage, which will get you critical hits on 5s. So if whatever that unit, say 10 knobs, I don't know, or also happen to be within 12 inches of Makari's aura, they will also be getting sustained and lethals on 5s, which is, man, it is a shocking amount of damage that can do. So I love Gaz in Warhorde. That makes a lot of sense. He's got 1 solo war boss. Totally fine. I generally like more than that, but he went with 1. No problem with that. He's got 3 units of Beast Snaggas. Now, these are interesting choices, but I kind of get them because Beast Snaggas being base strength 5 is actually a huge upgrade over the normal boys with the base strength of 4. However, he's not getting any of the sticky objectives, so I'm not sure I like that design a little bit that much, and it is a choice. Not to mention, 3 units of Beast Snaggas, each one is going to be 20 points more expensive than a single unit of boys. Those points really add up. Then we have 1 solo truck. He's got a battle wagon, and this is also a very, very important point because one of the things that he actually played very wrong over the course of the tournament is he allowed Gazcool to run in the battle wagon. But if you see here, he has an Ard case on the battle wagon, which is very explicitly stated in the codex. Gaz cannot ride in the battle wagon if it has the Ard case upgrade. The Ard case takes it from a toughness of 10 to a toughness of 12. He's then running 2 units of flash kits, 5-man flash kits. I love that option. I think flash kits at 80 points for 5 is a great choice. He's got 2 units of Gretchen. He's got 3 kill rigs. Now, the kill rigs are almost certainly going to have the Beast Snags embarked in them. He's got a 2-man unit of Mega Knobs. He's got a 5-man unit of Knobs that's almost certainly going to be attached to the War Boss. He's got 2 units of Storm Boys. So he actually has quite a bit of good mission play. He's actually got a reasonable amount of shooting because when you have all 3 of those kill rigs, well, that is going to be 3d3 auto-hitting last cannons a turn, which is not nothing. It can really mess up people's game plan when they're playing orcs, and the orcs actually have a little bit of shooting. Not to mention kill rigs, well, they're not like tough. They're not you don't kill them by sneezing at them. They are tougher than, say, a truck is, for example. So it can really cause a little bit of issues for opponents who are really just trying to dominate all of your transports in one turn. So I actually kind of like the list. I don't think it's a list that I would run. I do think it's a little bit weaker, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad list. However, it is there are some questionable things about how this list actually performed in the tournament. So let's start talking about some of those things. Well, we went over to it does turn out that Marshall Peterson did in fact receive at least one yellow card. I'm not certain if he got another one. Some of the reports are saying that he did get another yellow card. Some of the reports are saying otherwise, but he made some significantly errors in play at the course of this tournament. Now, are those errors cheating? Well, I'm going to leave that for you to decide, but I will give my opinion on it. So what are the big errors he made? One error that he made was he allowed Gazcool and his Meganobs to ride inside the battle wagon with Ardcase. Now, this might seem like a fairly innocuous error to make, but what you have to understand is that Marshall Peterson has been playing this game for a really long time, not to mention he's been playing Orks, and he has been caught on stream intentionally cheating in Warhammer before. That doesn't mean that he was intentionally cheating here, but it is a history that we have to understand. And by the way, Marshall, if you're watching this and you want to come on stream and just kind of talk about it, dude, feel free, hit me up. I'm happy to bring you on the channel and I let you present your case, because I'm not trying to accuse you of anything. And actually, when you read his post in Reddit where he is defending his actions, he's also very open about the mistakes that he made. So I think I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt here. But first off, this was a clear example of absolute negligence. When he says that Gazcool can ride in a battle wagon with Ardcase, it is very clearly stated in the codex that Gazcool cannot do that. And he did it for the first 5 games. Now, here is my big problem with this. So many of you might not know this, but I recently went to a GT that I was dominating, and I actually found out that I was playing with an extra unit in the 3rd round. This happens. This happens to other players as well. I know it's happened to a bunch of other popular players. It happens to a bunch of, not popular players. It's just sometimes you bring an extra unit in your bag and you find out, oh shit, I've been playing with an extra unit. So what I ended up, and this was a golden ticket event. And if you don't know about it, but in Norway, we don't have many events. So the way I handled this, right? I crushed my first 2 opponents. I did not even need the extra unit. I was going to crush them no matter what. But the reality is that when I was deploying in my 3rd round, my opponent says, oh, hey, I didn't see that in your list. And it really spawned in my mind. I was like, shit, I played the first 2 rounds with an extra unit on the table. So what I did is I immediately went to the TO. I said, hey, man, I played the first 2 rounds with an extra unit. You need to change my scores to 0s for those rounds. And this opens up a big conversation, okay? So personally, I think the only way you can handle that, because there's no way you can fix it, right? But the only way you can actually handle it is you either drop or you at minimum 0 your scores. The reason why I did not drop from that tournament is because it was a fairly small tournament. It was only like 56 players. And if I dropped, then there would be an uneven amount of players and someone else would have to get buys. So I just asked the TO, I said, hey, do you want me to drop? I'm super happy to do so, but definitely we're going to 0 out those scores. And he says, no, it's an uneven. Why don't you just keep playing? So I did. And what I ended up doing is I just treated the last few games of that tournament as an opportunity for me to coach newer players. And it went super well. Now, I'm embarrassed that happened, but I'm not ashamed it happened. It's like, all right, you're going to make mistakes. So same thing to Marshall Peterson here. It's entirely possible. He just made a mistake, The problem that I see is that when you make a mistake as egregious as like making Gazcool ride in something where it very explicitly states that he is not, and you're an experienced player, it's not like you've never, had to make a list for a tournament before. Once you discover that you made that mistake, you need to go 0 your scores. That doesn't mean you necessarily need to drop, but you need to go 0 your scores. You need to go find the TO and you need to say, hey, listen, we need to go 0 the scores. Now, to Marshall Peterson's credit, at least in the Reddit post, and it's hard to confirm, but it seems like this is probably true. When this error was pointed out to him, he did go find the TO, and the TO just said, cool, take a 10-point penalty. And the TO did not go retroactively fix the scores. That sounds like a TO problem to me. So I'm not necessarily going to blame Marshall Peterson for that. However, this takes us to another level. So once he has already played 5 games using that, let's say, rule abuse, he has dramatically affected the entire field of like who got paired into who, which matchups went into which matchups. He's dramatically altered it. At that point, I don't think there's any moral thing to do other than drop out once you're 5 games into the tournament. 1 game in, 2 games in, you discover an error. Okay, you 0 out the scores. You coach a new opponent. You coach your next opponents, help people have a good experience. 5 games in, I think you just have to drop. I don't think there's any other like reasonable way to do it. Now, I understand that not everyone might have that same feeling, and Marshall did converse with the TOs, and the TOs told him very specifically, they're like, we're just going to give you a 10-point penalty. So I don't know how much I can blame him for it, but it just doesn't seem like it was the correct thing. Now, the problem is there were more issues of wrongdoing than just this. So he was also playing his war boss and Snake Rot as toughness 6, not toughness 5. This is a problem because they are very clearly toughness 5 in the codex. It's just that is their toughness value. So Marshall said that it was an honest error, and he remembered Snake Rot being toughness 6 from the previous edition. But we're over a year into 10th edition, and you're quite a good player who has a reputation. That's not an error that you're really going to be making. And he did, I don't know if he got yellow carded for that. Doesn't seem like he did. But if he's playing his war boss and his Snake Rot with an extra blip of toughness, I don't like it. Now, to capitalize on everything, to wrap it all over, he has a history of blatant cheating on stream. So this is not a very good look. And so I'm actually going to play this for you. So this is, you guys can find this on Reddit, but there's a link to a game at Wargame Live last year where he was, or it might have been 2 years, 1 year ago, where he was running Necrons. And what he ended up doing, and I'm just going to play the brief clip, it's like 25 seconds. And remember, this is Wargames Live, who actually does an amazing job streaming everything. So go check out his channel. I'll put his link down below. But yeah, so Marshall Peterson is on stream. He is playing Necrons. And what he does, he ends up moving a unit of Canoptic Scarabs onto an objective to get a secondary. So he's going to do an action on a secondary. And he can't do it because it's being contested by the opponent. The problem is Marshall Peterson, he reads the rule on stream saying he's allowed to, and on stream omits the wording of the rule that would very clearly mean that he's not allowed to do this secondary. So this is about the most obvious example of cheating that I think we've seen since the guy was like pushing the the dice with his bottle of Coke or whatever. So I'm just going to kind of play this for you so you can see it, and then I'm going to read you the text of the actual stratagem. So here we go. Here's the play.
Of course, their secondaries are going to be Il Busto.
I'll quintuple check just to make sure. Because I don't want to do anything
wrong.
Yeah. I've heard good things about Dark Age
marker, not within my deployment zone, and I haven't done it on yet. That's the only requirement.
Not within my deployment zone, and I haven't done it on it yet. That's the only requirement. Well, that's just not true. So let me show you the actual wording. I think I had it here. Nope, wrong one. Sorry. Wrong one. PowerPoint video. Here we go. So this is the actual wording for the Awakened Ancient Mysteries, which was the secondary that he was trying to do. So what you saw there is you saw him move his scarabs onto an objective that was being held by enemy units. So the way this secondary was worded is it says, at the end of your movement phase, one or more Necron's core or Necron's Canoptic, which the scarabs were, from your army can start to perform this action. Each unit from your army that starts to perform this action must be in range of a different Ancient Machinery objective marker. A unit cannot start this action while there are any enemy units, excluding aircraft, in range of the same objective marker. The action is completed at the end of your next command phase, provided the unit attempting that action is still within range of the Ancient Machinery objective marker. Score 3 victory points. So basically, there's a lot more text than what he read. And so he read on stream very specifically and omitted the fact that, oh, wait, I literally can't do this if there's an enemy unit on the objective marker. So that was, I don't know, that's blatant cheating. It straight is. So the problem is that while Marshall's arguments that, okay, it was a mistake, I had Gaz in the battle wagon, it was a mistake that I said it was T6 and it was actually T5, it was confusions, these are things that can actually happen. Hell, dude, like I said, I just shared my story. It happened to me in a tournament. But he has a history of blatantly cheating, very intentionally. And then he had the audacity to not zero out his scores from the ones that he cheated in and not drop from the tournament. So this seems pretty bad to me. And honestly, it doesn't even seem as bad a look on Marshall, because if these were honest mistakes and the TO told him to keep playing, I actually blame the TO. Like, TOs need, or tournament organizers need to be much more strict about this. Like, if someone is breaking the rules, like, slap them. Be like, hey, it's not a 10-point error. It's like, you lose the first 5 rounds. You don't have to drop. That's not our thing. You're welcome to stick around. but we're going to go retroactively drop your scores from the first 5 rounds and give all of your opponents wins. That's the way to handle this, and that is the TO's job. And the TO seems like they failed. Now, I haven't dug into all of the drama from the way the TOs were conversing. Apparently, some of them were trying to give Marshall a red card, but they were overruled. It gets a little bit confusing, and I don't have access to the internal dialogue. I would, if any of you guys are TOs at this tournament and you really want, and you would love to come on and like talk about how it went, dude, shoot me a message. I'm happy to have you on the channel, and you can actually clear all this up for us. But yeah, so basically, this is the way that it went down. I think it is, it just does not look good, man. Especially at a super major like Tacoma, which is GW sponsored, and it's giving a ticket to the it's giving a golden ticket to the World Championships. Man, it looks awful. Marshall, if you were playing genuinely, and you clean up your act from the past, respect to you, I would recommend that you go ahead and forfeit your ticket and give it to the next person in line. Because it just does not look good. So I'm just giving you that recommendation of friendly advice. I think it looks bad what you did, but hey, man, people can make honest mistakes. And I would also encourage you that if a mistake like this happens in the future, you take control. Don't listen to the TO. You just drop yourself. If they're refusing to zero your scores, that's pretty ludicrous. So then it comes on to you to do the right thing and just drop yourself. So that's the way it all worked. Let's just go right back. I kind of want to go through like his path to victory because let's use this as a little bit of an education tool to actually talk about like how he managed to make it through the game itself. So let's just go back. Oh, sorry, wrong one. And here we are. Okay, cool. So we're back to it, and let's look at his path to victory. So let's look at our pairings. I'm just going to look up Marshall. So this is, by the way, this is Best Coast Pairings app. If you guys don't have access to it, it's awesome. It just shows you that where the scores of basically any tournament that you want to see, and it'll show you all the lists and everything else. So in round 1, he absolutely raffle stomped Owen Thomas with the Astra Militarum. So this honestly makes sense to me. My assumption is that Marshall Peterson would have gone first in this matchup. Orks do very well into Imperial Guard if they go first, because what that does is it allows them to move all their transports forward and get staged for a devastating turn 2 wall. Now, a lot of times when they go second and the Imperial Guard get to stage on them, it is a nightmare and Orks can't win. So if you're getting a score like this, chances are Marshall went first and he just did the correct thing by flooding the board. All right, let's go look at his round 2 pairing. Load. And now we have Marshall Peterson going into Max Clendening, who was running the Necrons. This is a 97 win to a 87 loss. I'm just kind of curious. I want to see what this list was. So he had a Chronomancer, so he was running Awakened Dynasty. Okay, so this was the indexed attachment. Short of the Void Dragon, Hexmark, Locust Lord, Overlord, Scorpec Lord, Technomancer, Mortals, Immortals, Reanimator, Thralls, DDA, Locust, Scorpex. So I can understand this because he does not really have the ability to pop all of those kill rigs. So I can understand that win. It doesn't seem like there's anything fishy there. It's kind of sad that I have to go through these and see if there's anything fishy. But yeah, that looks like it was a good game. It was pretty close, and it looks like they probably had a pretty solid game. Of course, Gaz being in the battle wagon there could be the difference between winning and losing because he would have just sniped out Gaz on the battlefield. So that's a problem. Like, he very easily could have just lost that game just from the simple standpoint that Gaz could not have been in that battle wagon. It's like, people think it's such a small error, but that difference can easily be a 20-point swing. So he really should have just quit. Should have just forfeited. And shame on the TOs for not zeroing his scores here. So going into Demons, he kind of just smashed them. Round 4, we have the Orks, and they're going into Zachary Heinzel with the Necrons. Okay. Yeah, let me just take a look at that again. Hexmark, Illuminator Zaraz, Plasmancer. Oh, this is Hypercrypt. Warriors, Annihilation Barge. Annihilation Barges. That's a interesting choice. DDA, Flayed Ones, Locust, Praetorians. That's kind of a little bit of a funky list. Okay. Once again, it was a close match, and that was another one of the rounds where Gaz being in the battle wagon is absolutely a big deal. Marshall, 100 to the Adeptus Sororitas with the 23 points. Once again, this was one of the rounds that he did the battle wagon thing because it was rounds 1 through 5. So now we're going into the first rounds where he wasn't using Gaz in the battle wagon. Let's see if there's a difference in the scores. So Thousand Suns, 56 to Orks, 97. Round 7, I don't know where he stopped using the wrong toughness of the characters. he crushed Leagues of Votann. Now, that's actually pretty interesting because Leagues of Votann have a nice advantage to orks. But Marshall's clearly a good player, right? I'm not trying to claim the guy's not a good player. And then finally, he beats the Adeptus Sororitas 100 in the finals. So there you have it, guys. Marshall Peterson, he actually does win Tacoma. And normally I would like to give him a big round of applause, especially for a list that is just a little bit funky. Not necessarily bad, just a little bit funky. One that I wouldn't have really expected to do super well with. So I would like to give him applause for that, but there's too much controversy here. Gaz being in the battle wagon when he couldn't be because of the Ardcase upgrade. Giving the characters a higher toughness than they're supposed to have. There were a few other allegations that were kind of hard to like track down, so I don't want to talk about them. And then his pass of blatant cheating. This is just a bad look. Marshall, once again, man, the invitation is up to you to come onto the channel if you would like to clear the air. It does look bad, but that doesn't mean any of us actually know. I'm just some asshole who's reading like the Reddit post, right? So feel free to come on the air. Just shoot me a message, shoot me an email, and I'll get you on here. And if any of the TOs for the Tacoma wants to come on and clear this up, then you're welcome as well. Anyway, guys, this is the list. I wanted to talk about it because when lists win tournaments like this, people want to emulate them. I'm super happy if you want to give this a try. But just note it with a little asterisk that it might not be all it's cut up for because there was some foul play involved. Until next time, this is Happy Corrupting Wargaming, and we're going to be back tomorrow with some really cool orc strategy videos. So, hope you all have a great day, and until next time, crump on. Cheers.